I'm quite suspicious of your actions. I may have to call the democracy officer on you.
But I filed all my paperwork, I promise.
Your liberty essay is late, and that's not tolerated here. Go to Hellmire and fight the fire tornadoes.
Right.
So, hey, welcome to the Retro Boost podcast. This one has been brewing for a long time. I think it was pretty clear that we wanted to talk about this closer to when it came out, but it's benefited us to delay because a lot of stuff has happened. So we're talking about Helldivers, something modern for a twist. I don't play modern games much, so it's kind of a big deal for me.
Yeah, this game, it didn't come out of nowhere. There was a little bit of hype, but certainly didn't foresee the crazy like cultural impact that it's had and how it's certainly a smash hit. Albeit kind of a challenging first few weeks with some server challenges and some other things. But yeah, really, really fun game to play with your buddies, and we're gonna talk a lot about it today.
Oh, I should probably address the junk in the screen. I'm almost done with the new console setup. That's what this is all about.
Gotcha.
The room is just like torn asunder right now, parts and pieces and junk everywhere, and like there's the camera and lighting for like the Metroid videos like there too. It's just like a bomb went off in this room right now.
It's all good, man. It's cool.
Been posting the updates of this stuff on the Discord server, Retro Boost Discord server. There's a cabling sub channel. Been putting all the pictures of progress of this whole project in there. Join the Discord. Nice. We talk about dumb things like Neil Breen that Cameron just brought up again, which is like a demon from the past. Look into that one. And also retro gaming stuff. But today is all about Helldivers 2, the game that like broke the world. The game that saved all of gaming. In a dark era of all these terrible live service nightmares and disappointing releases, here comes humble old Helldivers with its less than $70 price tag, its never expiring battle pass, it's just
well, and it looks good too. There are times when I'm playing this game when an airstrike will hit, or the lighting will be just right, and it's like, man, a $40 game you can't really call like an indie title, but we knew that it was coming from a smaller dev, so you kind of expect certain things. But the game looks great. I mean, there are times where it's like, ooh, I don't know, but there are times when it hits just right, and it looks really, really good.
I think it looks fantastic. I mean, for me, the standards aren't really too high. I mean, as long as it like looks good enough to keep me immersed, I'm fine, I guess. Interesting point, the little 30-second side conversation, but like the price point and the indie game thing, I feel like Titanfall like just kind of changed the world with that one, because that was like a $20 indie game that got released for $60 because it was published by EA. And it was like the rules with pricing kind of evolved at that point forward, and you just never know what you're going to get. I feel like the $40 price tag is very reasonable and makes sense, because Helldivers 1 and 2 both have these like gigantic kind of campaigns that go off this big galaxy map, and like we've only been fighting on 2 fronts in this galaxy that has 2 more directions to go. You think about where the content will go, and this price point gets you into all this stuff that's going on. More than reasonable, for sure.
Yeah, I think the way that the story kind of works and the way that the gameplay loop is regarding planets, and we try to take over these planets, and you've got a percentage score, and then you can see how many of us are on a current planet. I just think it's a really interesting thing that I've never really played a game before that has this gameplay loop to it. I'm really curious about where it's headed. I think they can do some really creative things. I hope they do some things, and I hope they avoid others. So, but yeah, it's a very interesting style of story that I've never really played a game like this before.
It's definitely interesting. It's like the perfect kind of mishmash of varying ideas that come together and create this whole animal. On one hand, you've got like a lot of the gameplay and social kind of goings-ons of Destiny and Destiny 2.
Yep.
But then you have like the first-person mixed aiming and overall third-person kind of vibe is like Ghost Recon. But then you have like a world that progresses sort of like a D&D campaign would go. Like it's all wrapped up nicely in this big ball of Starship Troopers, the movies, parodies of fascism.
Which the thing is, like, if you would have built all of those things and then presented them to the gaming community, I think the majority of us would have said, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that this will be a hit. But from like a baseline point of view, you were like, no, this is going to come out. It's going to be exciting for a week. It's probably going to launch, and there's going to be a ton of challenges, like most games we get these days. And they had their fair share of concerns when the game first launched, but for the most part, I think they've done a really good job kind of turning around that ship. Now we play the game. We really rarely have really a lot of concerns. If we do, we end up hearing about it. It could be the arc thrower, or
I don't think you've played
some
the
other
game
weird things.
This particular week, have you?
I have not, actually.
Yeah, there's a new thing going on right now. It crashes.
Oh, no.
It crashes like almost every time during extract.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's like the new known thing. There's always like a known thing. So last week it was the arc thrower, a weapon that was causing crashes. Now it's the extract. The only good thing about it is once you're in the extract and the ship takes off, like you're safe. Like the round has saved, your XP is earned, whatever. So you don't lose anything beyond having to restart the game and rejoin your friends. But it's happened like almost every time that I've played with our buds that it's crushed at that screen.
That's
so the
terrible.
game has always had problems, basically, in one way or another.
Right.
The biggest and most noteworthy was that there were not enough servers for the players. So quite notoriously, when the game kind of first came out, everyone was hitting the like, please wait kind of screen, and like you never get in. I had 9 hours of gameplay on Steam out of the weekend that I bought it, and I seriously only played like less than 2, like in the game.
You had a pretty terrible experience when the game first launched. And it was weird because it was okay for me. There was a few times where I was like, I'm not going to sit here and wait to get in. A few times I got it immediately, which I was shocked. But I did kind of feel bad. And I don't know if that was because you were playing it on PC or just because it is what it is. But I did feel bad. Your starting of the game was kind of rough, and it's like, oh no. But I'm glad to see that for the most part, that's all been fixed.
Yeah, that issue I don't think has ever really reappeared. Once they fixed it, like the week after that, like it was still spotty the week after, and then it seemed like they finally fixed it. I mean, the numbers that this game drew was insane. It was like it almost broke the record for concurrent players on Steam. Like it's in the top 5 or 4. It and Pal World both were like occupying like 3rd or 2nd peak concurrent players of all time, failing only to beat Players Unknown Battlegrounds at its peak, 10 whatever years ago. It was doing crazy numbers for an indie game. Both Helldivers 2 and Pal World together have like put a lot of the big companies like to shame. This started this year. Pal World was slap in the face to Pokemon, and Helldivers 2 is a slap in the face to every failed live service trash thing that's come out.
And there are a lot of them.
Yeah, this year has seen two pretty prolific ones come and fail pretty hard. Justice League and the boat one, which seems...
Skull and Bones.
Yeah, Skull and Bones, which seems like it might be heading in a positive direction, but it might be too little too late. I mean, what does it matter if you fix it a year later if the player base is 0?
Yep. And, I mean, I'm playing Final Fantasy, so, like, I'm going to be playing that for a while. I think I'm at, like, 89 hours, maybe 90 hours. Yeah, and I'm not even done with the story yet, man. I'm on chapter 11, and I think there's 14.
That's because you're still 100%ing each one?
Yep.
Yeah, you mad lad.
Yep, I sure am. I think I've done 5 zones so far, and I 100%ed all of them. And man, it was great. It was so good. So I'm really enjoying that game. I'm sure we'll discuss that one later. But yeah, this game just it's the thing too that really helps is the gameplay itself is really fun.
Yes.
The way it looks is fun. The way it sounds is fun. The way you communicate with your team is fun. It's just got that multiplayer co-op thing that we haven't seen. Hot take here, but for myself, the gameplay loop in this game with your friends doing all of that, it really feels like Mass Effect 3 Online again. And that game, the element of that game was unlike anything that I'd ever played before. And this kind of gives me that same feeling of the cooperative gameplay, the fun banter between players, the challenge. It's just it's really fun at its core, and I think that's the element that's going to keep the game going for a long time.
Mass Effect multiplayer was missing one thing that Helldivers has: friendly fire.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Which is an element that I was really worried about when the game launched. Because, funny story, I played the first HD2, played it for maybe 20 minutes, realized that friendly fire was on, and uninstalled it and never played it again. So I was pretty concerned about that element to this game. But I just kind of took it as... it is an added challenge in this kind of game to have that in there. We just have to coordinate better as a team, and the game makes you do that with elements like friendly fire.
Absolutely, and I think that it's, with games that can toggle it on or off, like say Smash Bros, just like to name one that you can toggle it on for. When you toggle that on, it's like you're going into like this extreme hard mode, like variant of what you're used to. With Helldivers, friendly fire, as they call it, accidentals, the nicest way possible of saying that you've murdered one of your teammates on the battlefield.
Right.
It's like an embraced function of the game. Like, it's expected. The way that it all kind of plays out, like, it's gonna happen at some point to you, and the best thing you can do is just laugh it off. Because obviously it's different if like some jerk is like doing it on purpose, which unfortunately is happening. They really need to make you invincible when you get into the dropship. The fact that you're not is kind of insane, and a lot of jerks online are taking advantage of that. Inexcusable. Call your democracy officers. But like outside of that, like when you throw down a turret and it just like 180s and blows your own head off immediately, it is so funny.
It's great, dude.
It's awesome.
Hilarious.
Or even
just
better,
cuts your entire team in half.
I had the ultimate one last night playing with the guys. I was prepping an Eagle Airstrike, and like the Eagle Airstrike, that term is like one of the strongest ones. Big booms across a large swath of terrain. And I like type in the code, and I'm holding it, and I go to throw it, and I get like knocked over by something, so I drop it like on myself, and then the airstrike comes in and like wipes everybody out. It only killed me, but they all got like bounced away, I think.
Oh no!
It's like, dude, it's funny. Like, it's just part of it.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's and then you've got certain guns that are very friendly fire friendly, like
the arc thrower.
flamethrower, arc thrower. I've even the grenade launcher can be very bad as far as friendly fire goes.
Yes.
Any fire damage, fire grenades, the incendiary breaker as well. There's just certain elements that are really, it's a skill thing too, because like whenever I see Chris with the flamethrower, I'm getting behind him because otherwise I'll get cooked. And the flamethrower does really good damage. Like, I can understand why somebody would bring it into a fight, but it's just one of those things where the player has to be really careful with it, because you can wipe out your entire team if you're not paying attention to what you're doing with that thing, for sure.
Anthony with the arc throw has been great because he just continuously, at least once a match, team kills Chris specifically somehow. It's great.
Oh yeah,
you just like zoink, and then you see that Chris is dead, and it's like, oh Jesus.
Well, and Andrew and Chris are hilarious because Andrew will absolutely call out Chris for things, and it's great. The banter between those two is hilarious.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
So, zooming out, Helldivers 2 has invoked a lot of nostalgia for a particular franchise that I've already mentioned, and that would be Starship Troopers. The original sci-fi. The quick little 1-minute summation, if people didn't know this, because they legitimately might not. Starship Troopers is a book from 1959, I want to say. Pretty straight science fiction. Tells the story of humanity fighting bugs. Johnny Rico, the main character, and they fight the bugs, and it ends with them invading the bug homeworld. And use your imagination. Kind of serious. Low key, kind of like some kind of commentary on like the decline of the youth at the time. That's what I've read. I'm not going to say that I figured that out. Oh, I figured it out. I'm a professor.
Right.
That's the consensus. It takes a stab at like pro-authoritarian, basically. And then the movie comes out in the late 90s and like takes that and like turns it into a parody of those ideas. The book was not like that, but the movie is. The movie is like this overt kind of parody of authoritative and fascism and so on governments, which Helldivers 2 like grabs onto, and it's like the same thing.
Yes.
You have this like really hilariously over-the-top authoritative government that grabs onto liberty and freedom and whatnot as motivation factors, and the soldiers are fighting for these things that they don't even like really understand. They're just like screaming liberty and freedom, and they just like,
right.
Why? They don't even know what they're fighting about, and they're just getting murdered immediately. They go from boot camp to a hell pod to dying in like 5 minutes. That's like how it plays out. So I saw a Reddit post that theorized that you're actually playing as the ship / the guy on the ship, because the Helldivers are just getting deployed and killed nonstop. You can't be playing as them because they're dead.
That's funny.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty great. So, the opening is so funny when the dude's just like, "Oh, sweet liberty!" as like the bug kills his family, and then he's like, "Familiar scene."
Well, and that kind of goes back to what we were saying. Like, when I booted up the game and I knew what I wanted to see. I knew what I wanted to expect. I wanted to see Starship Troopers vibes. And they give you that instantly with the first cinematic scene.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I don't need to see anything else. Skip, yes, get me in the game. This is going to be great. And it just does a great job with that, too. And I've sent you reels when they use the beginning of that game, because you can apply that to so many different things.
It's great. There's been tons.
It's wonderful what the internet's done with the memes and all the other things.
I think my favorite one is still the anime like not safe for work thing where it's like this furry character about to take her clothes off, and the dude comes in, he's like, familiar scene. So funny.
This could be you. Oh, it's so good, dude.
And it's also like it's brought Starship Troopers back, and we're having that funny effect where people are now like saying, actually, that was a good movie, that like used to not say that, you know? It's the classic scenario. It was always a good movie, just so you're aware. Yes. Jesus. It's cool. I knew that I was gonna like it kind of immediately because when I was playing the tutorial, which a shocking number of people don't know exists, by the way, playing that I was kind of like, okay, yeah, this is like your standard kind of third-person shooter thing. But then when they teach you about the stratagems, I think that mechanic is just so cool. I like games that take like totally mundane things and like turn it into some new idea. And the stratagem thing is so interesting because the way it works. Your guy, your Helldiver, has a ship in orbit that supports you directly with these stratagems / supplies / more Helldivers when your guy's dead. And the Helldivers are typing in like a code to encode a signal into like a little signal orb that then you throw, and then whatever's going to happen is going to happen, whether it be a bomb or an airstrike or supplies. But you have to type in that code. And I knew immediately, I was like, this is going to be great, because it's all fun and dandy to do it here in the tutorial, but imagine trying to do this when you got enemies crawling all around you, blood and chaos, and teammates are down.
Oh, yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was probably my first, like, extract with a full group that I knew, and I was like, man, we are going to play a lot of this game. Like... This is not going to go anywhere, and because of the way that they're dealing with the story elements, they're like keeping us sated, and I really think something big is coming soon. I really just
for sure, because referencing the first game, there are additional factions within the franchise that haven't been shown yet that certainly will, and or new things entirely. Maybe the Predators will show up. It'll be a crossover with 20th Century Fox. That'd be cool.
No, I think it's going to be the Flood.
The Flood? Oh, man, we're screwed. Currently, at the time of recording, we're fighting the bots and the bugs on two separate fronts. So if new things have come out since, that's where we are today.
Yes. But going back to what you said about Starship Troopers, I am all for that game that film getting a new lease on life. So I'm super supportive of that, and that film deserves to be watched, and it's great. It's a great movie.
Yep, they just need to do. I still would like to see an attempt to make the book more literally, because it's pretty hardcore science fiction to the degree that it inspired like everything. Iron Man, Halo, Aliens all owe their existences to that book. And the specifics within, because the author like painstakingly describes like certain technologies and whatnot. The Spartan armor from Halo, like that's an idea from Starship Troopers that the movie didn't do because of budgetary restrictions, but the animated ones did. So you can see those in action. That'd be cool. But the original movie is super fun. It's a funny take on it, and it works super well in this setting, obviously. It's hilarious, the stuff that these characters will like talk about and do, and how they reference freedom and the like. It's great.
Right. Definitely. It just kind of hit at the right time, and I think that I think it's good for the gaming industry when you have a game like this that does well, because of the $40 price tag, because it's not like a triple, quadruple A thing, and it still does really well.
Oh man.
Right. Yuck. But yeah, I just think it's a great game. It's super fun, and the thing that it does so well, it does really, really, really well, and that's going to keep people playing it for a while.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about how it's kind of unfolded thus far. So the way the game works, you've got a big galaxy map screen, and you choose planets and then do missions on said planets. But the way it's kind of working in the background is there's like this kind of dungeon master-esque character that works at the game studio named Joel, who's apparently the guy that's in charge of like the story decisions, like where it's going. He's like the puppet master, basically. And I think that he's starting to like, the company is like really starting to kind of understand where they're at with the player base, because I feel like a lot of some of the earliest stuff was kind of thrown off by the amount of players that are like engaged with this. But basically, you get these things called major orders, which are how the story is progressing in the background, essentially. The notable ones that have occurred thus far would be establishing a barrier against the bugs. That was probably the first one that had, like, something kind of unique to do beyond just, like, fight. Players had to do these objectives to set up these big bug spray dispensers, basically. And then, like, the running joke, again, the Starship Troopers-esque stuff, is that, like, people are asking, like, well, is it poisonous to people? It's like, nah, it can't be. We're all liberty fueled. Like, it can't hurt us. Like,
right. Don't you mean liberty fueled?
We're tired of them saying that, though. And then what happens as a result of that is people are right, and it did cause an effect, and it resulted in a new enemy type being revealed, flying bugs, which then, very hilariously, the game developers gaslit their own fan base into saying that the bugs can't fly. They're fascists, they can't fly. So it's like they shadow introduce new stuff with every one of these major turning points. And then they play the role of, like, the super Earth government and, like, deny when things are being introduced. It's really funny.
Oh, it's great. And then we had the major order to free the planet that created mechs.
That was the next big one, yes.
Yeah, because before then, they had really, I don't know if it was because of 100% leaks or they took part in a little bit of that, but we had seen tons of images of what this mech could be, and they were like, no, that's not a thing, that's not a thing, that's something. And then all of a sudden, they were like, hey, this planet creates these things, so you better take out all the bugs or bots or whatever. And it was just a really cool element to it, for sure.
Yeah. And then they embraced their own meme. The most recent one that happened was Mavalon Creek, which has been, like, basically an untakeable planet since the game came out. Again, I think that's a Joel thing. Like, I think Joel kind of puts the barriers up where he needs to, because, like, if you think about it too, on the bug front, the players have never progressed past the particular sector that they're in since that sector became available, like 2 months ago, whatever. Similar thing with the other side of the map where the bots are. So, like, Mavalon Creek has been, like, this meme in the community where it's like people fighting bugs are having this great time, and it's like still shots of Starship Troopers characters being happy, and then people on Mavalon Creek, it's like space Vietnam, and they're all traumatized and everything. And the planet was untakeable until recently, and they made it one of the major orders, which is funny because that was the moment that, like, the Reddit community seemed to, like, cannibalize itself, and everyone went ballistic about, like, throwing shade on the Creekers, as they call them, for not uniting against a different objective the previous week. But now it's the Creekers' turn to shine, and they get their planet. And, like, that meme of that dude spraying the champagne on himself, but being, like, third place has been, like, used 1,000 times for the Creeker people. It's like, dude. They gave a special cape for free to commemorate Avalon Creek's being taken / the sacrifices involved, which I find super funny because that means the people that had nothing to do with it get that cape and can wear it. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, that planet was super fun, though. I'm not really worried about it. We played that creek and we enjoyed it. It was fun. We spent some time on the creek, I'm not gonna lie.
We did early on when it was still, like, this horrible place where, like, no one could win. It wasn't until recently that perception started to change. I mean, that's the thing about the game. So, like, you get primary and, like, secondary weapons. You get your stratagems, which include all kinds of different things, whether it be heavy weapons that go on your back, support backpack type things, airstrikes, turrets, etc. And between all of that and the armor, the thing that the game doesn't tell you but you should do is, like, there's different ways to experiment with all that, not just for fun but also for particular scenarios and planets and their effects But most importantly, bots versus bugs. You can be all Starship Troopers and fight these bugs and have tons of fun, or fight the bots. And people have this perception that the bots are like infinitely harder. Not really. It's just like a different play style. Like, it's very different. It's not just that they can shoot back. It's that everything's different. How they play and how their different forces work and interact, and like the strategy that you have to use against them. It's like two different games.
Well, and for this game to be a long-term success, they're gonna have to keep that up. Like, the third enemy type that they come up with soon cannot feel like the first two. That would make it really challenging for the game to really progress going down the line. Because you're right, they don't feel the same at all. I would say that I do think that the bots are a little bit harder.
Yes.
But I think you're right as well. They're played two different ways. I mean, I have stratagem builds that I only use against bots, and I have stratagem builds that I only use against bugs. I'm sure we all have that, and that's one of the great parts about the game is that those two are not similar in our approach, literally at all. And the hope, of course, is that they continue to be that way.
Absolutely, because that's what clicked for me. Because like I had found a couple of different things I really enjoyed against the bugs, and like those things just don't work against the bots. And something just like clicked one day where I went into a bot mission after leveling up some more and like had access to more stratagems and stuff, and like something just kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, I get it now. And currently I'm able to solo against the bots on challenging, which, yeah, I know it's like halfway up the chain and there's like 9 difficulties, you know, but like for me that's like a big deal, like currently.
That is a big deal.
And it's just because you start to figure things out. They've also made some balancing changes that made some of the more unfair aspects of the bots way better. Because there were some things that were unfair. Like, there were definitely some opportunities for changes, and they still have to make some. But the most notable one is that they really made heavy armor a lot more usable in terms of its defenses. And they also changed how some of the rocketry works from some of the bots. Because a big complaint, and it's a valid complaint, is that you be playing against the bots and you're shooting stuff and whatnot. Also, this rocket comes from off screen. Just you're dead. You're instantly turned to mush. And you couldn't have done anything about it. Like, you might as well have been like a pedestrian on the street reading a newspaper and a truck just runs you over. Like, you had no way to deal with that at all. So, like, they've addressed things like that. The big thing that they still need to fix regarding the bots is that a big mechanic with the bots is that they call in... Well, both the bots and the bugs can call in backup in different ways. And the bots involves, like, an airship coming in and dropping off reinforcements, like Halo style. You can shoot them down, but kind of the problem right now is it's kind of pointless because 90% of the time or more, all of the bots in the ship survive that and will like still come at you afterward. Like, there's little glitches like that still have to work out.
Yeah, they do definitely need to fix that. As someone who likes to fill the role of I'll take down the bot drops, you know, sometimes it works really well and I do it and all of a sudden 14 kills. And then sometimes I do it and I didn't kill a single one. And you're totally right. Like, that needs to be fixed. Maybe they could buff the airships and make it not as easy to take them out. But that would guarantee that you would at least take out a portion of the bots that they're about to drop. Because, yeah, and then the way that it just falls on the ground, it doesn't like explode in the air or anything. I've been caught beneath that thing and not been able to get out. There's a lot of weird, strange things with that mechanic. I'm surprised that they haven't just gone to you blow it out of the sky and it's gonna kill some of them and that's that. And I would be fine with that, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like now it pretty consistently like falls in the ground and then explodes now, but like they still don't die.
Okay.
That's the problem. There's all kinds of little glitches. Like, the game is like glitch hell, to be honest. Like, it's very unstable, but it's just so fun that like you can very easily overlook a lot of that, at least the less frustrating ones. The crashes used to really bug me before we knew what was causing them, the arc thrower thing. And then after that, it's just been this extraction thing, which actually brings to the actual like gameplay loop itself is dropping on a planet, kind of running around with a time limit, completing optional or primary objectives, and then extracting. That extraction phase is so fun because that just as a mechanic is just a fun thing to experience. But once again, harkens back to Starship Troopers because you're kind of role playing like the Whiskey Outpost sequence in that moment.
My favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, it's the best part. Hold what you got.
Yeah,
it's a good time. Super fun segment of the game. The one thing that has been interesting regarding it, though, that is more in line with contemporary gaming, although it has its own twist on it, is the Battle Pass stuff.
War bonds.
Yep. So buy the game for $40 and you get access to like the core war bond, which is like a tree of upgrades. The first thing I'll say is that it isn't like a typical game where like you're leveling up and the stuff that's on like tier 8 is like god power and the stuff on tier 1 is not. That's not how it works. The game is scaled horizontally, I think is the term that I've seen used, in the sense that every weapon is like supposed to be usable in various situations. They don't want a situation where that's the god tier weapon that everyone uses and no one uses these other 5 things. So their patches and balances are to fight that effect, which is great because it means that it's not paid to win.
Right.
There are currently 2 of these war bonds, paid war bonds. They're $10 to buy outright, or you can collect in-game currency. Chris, I think, was able to use exclusively in-game currency he earned to buy it, I think.
Somebody
did.
in our group did, because I remember them saying that they were like 900 and something super credits, which if you're gonna grind, you can actually get to that 1K mark pretty quick. But yeah, somebody in our group did, which is great.
You can potentially get like upwards to 1 to 200 per mission if you're lucky. Minimum like 10 to 30, maybe 50 at peak. They give it to you in an amount that kind of surprises me. I've been able to collect like a few hundred routinely and use it to buy the daily special armors that are fun to use. Which again, not pay to win, because with one exception, I've never seen any of those armors have like some kind of crazy unique skill. The only one I've come across that seems pretty unique is I have a light armor that I think I bought with the super credit money that has a perk that makes it as strong as medium armor. So it's a little stronger. But I honestly don't remember if that was part of the daily paid stuff or if that was part of a war bond.
Interesting. Yeah,
I think it was
I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I've worn the same gear. Once I got the light armor that had the medic bonuses on it, I was like, I'm done. This is it. I'm good, because it gives me my quick running speed, okay defense, and 6 med packs each time I spawn. And I was like, I'm good. That's great. I don't need to change that at all. And the color scheme looks really cool, and I got the DBZ scouter thing going on. So yeah, my dude looks pretty cool. But we all look cool. Like we all. You know, I don't think any of us wear the same stuff, which is great, you know.
No, and I'm always changing it up because I keep just trying to figure out, like, what different things you can do. Because you could definitely... The game isn't designed this way forwardly, but it is interesting how you can create these, like, different builds. Like, at one point I was, like, using armor that gives you 2 extra grenades, and I was going into like matches with the incendiary grenades and the flamethrower and the eagle napalm strike. So I'm like this, and the armor's orange, so I'm like this fire master, like coming in and just burning everything to a crisp. Like it's pretty cool you could do that. The stuff that's in the paid war bonds is definitely a little unique compared to what's in the core game. But again, it's not like leagues better.
Right.
Notable mentions would be the Breaker Incendiary, which is like a flame version of a shotgun you can get in the core war bond, but I think it's checked as not being super ultra premium because you can get a similar one in the core game called the Breaker Spray and Spray. It's kind of a similarly strong shotgun. And then like the sickle is like the new one. It's like a automatic like laser pew pew gun. People love it a lot.
I love that
It's
thing.
probably gonna get balanced because it's too good.
Yeah.
But like some of them like outright suck and like need to get like buffed, and then like sometimes they're like too good and they need to get like augmented. But none of them have been like, oh yeah, I paid for this one, so I win every time. Like, that's not what happens. It's pretty cool. Most importantly though, these war bonds don't expire. Like you have no pressure to jump in and like try to complete one ASAP. They said that they'll never expire, which is really cool.
That is good. That is good. Yeah, and the thing is like, and this is just my opinion here, but when it comes to like pay to win type stuff, this is a cooperative game, so it's kind of, to me, it's not held in the same as like a player versus player game would be, of course. So like I'm okay with all the microtransactions and some of that stuff. Like I don't really have any concern with that. Not to get off on this, but like the Dragon's Dogma 2 discourse around that, I don't even care about that either, because it's a single player game. I can either use that stuff if I want or not, and that's that. And I think to your point, they've balanced the game well enough that you can probably compete at the highest floor without buying any of those things, because they don't lock stratagems behind those. So
no,
it
stratagems, and then also like a lot of the game's best quote unquote weapons are from the core one that's part of the game, not from the war bonds themselves. Like the Slugger was like a favorite of everyone's until recently, at least, when it got changed a little bit. They might revert some of that, but like a lot of the guns that people reference come from the free one, not the paid ones.
Right.
It's cool. I think that, not to go off on a tangent, just my interpretation of all these news articles, I think people's problem with Dragon's Dogma is that they snuck them in, because like they weren't there when the game was announced, or even during they hid them from the people doing the reviews early, which is really funny.
Right.
And then like just as an idea, I think it's kind of weird and shisty to like make this gigantic open world game that's huge, and then you want to fast travel? Well, you could pay for it. Like I feel like just the gesture is very strange and like kind of consumer hostile. As someone that played the first game, being able to do that was like really hard, and the second game is similar. Apparently the items you get for free that do that are really rare, and like you're not going to be getting them until pretty late game in frequency. So I can get why people are pissed about it. I definitely think it was shady to hide it all before the game came out. Like if they announced it like 6 months ago, I don't think anyone would have cared. You would have been expecting it.
The sneaking it in thing is, like you said, I think that's a little bit lame. But the idea of those being in the game, I have no issue with at all, because I'd either take advantage of them or I wouldn't.
Right.
And knowing me, I probably would, because I don't have time to deal with this, to play all these games as slow as. That's why I'm doing the Final Fantasy thing. When I beat that game, I have to put it down because I don't have time to keep playing it.
You need to get the beat a game button that the Angry Nerd did like 10 years ago. Angry Video Game Nerd had a bit called the beat a game button. It's just like a big red button. You press it and the game goes to the end credit screen, but then he's like unfulfilled because he didn't actually like play any of them.
Right.
Just like beat it.
So I don't know if it's for gamers like me who, are a little bit shorter on time and, don't really want to grind and just want to kind of get to the end. But I have no issue with them being in the game. And if I ever play that game, I'll probably partake, honestly. But, whatever.
I think it is really also interesting to note that although Helldivers 2 currently has premium currency, none of it can be used to actually buy like anything but gear. Said gear, with one or two exceptions, all has the same perks, passives, whatever you want to call them, as stuff that you get through the normal war bond. You can't just like buy a gun from like somewhere with the premium currency. Like you pay for access to a new tree of items, but you still have to earn them through the same methods you do for the regular free one, which is pretty cool. We may see that change at some point, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did. One thing I'm surprised they don't have now that I think they will have at some point is armor shaders, though. Being able to customize the color. Like, I would totally pay like $5 for 10 different colors to play with. Like, I would absolutely do that.
Yes, and kind of on that note too, the way that the equipment works when you go into a match is you choose your chest piece, your headpiece, and your cape.
Yep.
The only one that you really get stat bonuses from will be that chest piece. My hope is that will change down the line, because I think that's kind of dumb. But that's kind of how that works. You choose one of the three. The only one that has any like perks or any parameters or anything based on like damage reduction, foot speed, stuff like that, is your chest piece. And they do have light, medium, and heavy. Yep. I'm a light armor guy. The foot speed just to me is too important. That's just me.
Coward, running away from your democratic duties.
I'm
the same
to
way.
Fight another day, right?
I mean, so that was kind of the big thing that clicked with me, is that, the way the game works, you get XP and rewards from completing objective, not killing enemies. So kind of the biggest early lesson is like, you don't have to win every fight that you start, and you also don't have to start a fight with every enemy you see. There's some pretty funny memes about that exact concept, where like someone's in a group and there's a patrol coming, and like, all right, we're gonna wait here, and the new guy just like and then just like starts the whole thing. It's an important lesson. I definitely would like to see them add more to the gear. To your point, nothing for helmets is kind of weird, and there's also only like 6 different perks. It's like more grenades, or more stims, or more throwing distance, or reduced limb damage, or no explosion damage reduced, or arc damage reduced, and like the recoil one, and like that's it. It's like 6 or 7, maybe 8.
There's
and they're
the
all
better
like
radar one, which I like a lot.
Oh yeah, the radar ping thing is another one of them. So yeah, there's like 8, and like none of them are like, with the exception of like the grenades and the stims and maybe the explosive, none of them really play into like, I'm gonna make a build out of this. Someone pointed out that the explosive one, as of this newest update, which got buffed by the way, becomes really handy for people that use the the railgun, because the new explosion resistance buffs coupled with the new heavy armor buffs, you can survive the railgun exploding now.
Dude, that is great. I love that. That's a good gun too. Even though I know it got nerfed and everybody said it's not viable anymore, the railgun is still viable. You just have to know how to use it.
Skill issue. People tend to overreact to all the changes. In practice, some of them to me haven't even been noticeable. Some of them have. I didn't get enough time with the slugger for me to care as to what just happened to it. But I can tell you that the changes to the sniper rifle were great. It's like, it's really good now. I liked it before.
Yeah, when we first started playing, the antimatter was your jam. Is that what you're referring to? Or are you referring to
the big boy sniper rifle.
The 30% damage buff? That thing already did really good damage. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, it's, well, because like where it kind of struggled was like, despite the fact it's called anti-material, it like really struggled against medium armored enemies, and now it doesn't. Now it kind of makes sense. So they've been kind of watching how people use this stuff, and they've been making changes that so far I think have made a lot of sense. I haven't seen anything that was like, ugh, what'd you do that for? It's terrible. None of them kind of hit me like that.
Well, when the breaker got nerfed, which I don't even think it really did, I've used that since, and it's still fine. Everybody panicked, and it's fine. Like, it's, I don't know. To be honest with you, when the game first launched, that gun was too good anyway. You could like sniper shotgun shoot bugs, and it was like, this has to change. This is not this is not viable. Everybody's going to use this gun always.
Are you referring to the slugger?
The breaker. Remember when the game first launched and it was like really, 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 really good, and then it was the same patch that nerfed the railgun as well.
Okay, because the slugger is the one that got nerfed most recently, and the devs said straight up it's because it was the game's best sniper rifle and shouldn't be because it's a shotgun.
Yes.
I remember when the breaker got nerfed because they didn't touch the breaker incendiary with that same patch. Which, like, I was like, not my breaker incendiary, my precious baby. They've actually buffed that one since, which is cool.
Which is great.
Yeah, that's
against the
to
bugs,
me.
That thing is just insane.
To me, they have more stuff that needs to get buffed than they do nerfed.
I agree, 100%.
There's definitely too many guns that are like almost unusable because of various little small problems that can be very easily fixed without making them too powerful. The newest heavy machine gun needs a bigger magazine. Similarly, the Jar Dominator needs to just not be terrible. And some of their patches, the most recent patch buffed that one apparently. So it's like, hey, cool, they're doing it. I think the arc thrower should still have the same range it used to have, though. That may have been a mistake.
Did they increase its range or shorten it?
Decreased it.
No.
I think they should.
I mean, I'm not a fan of that gun anyway. I've been cooked by that thing. Andrew, I'm talking about you, but
yeah, about to say, who else would it have been?
That's great.
We had our fun little thing too, where like we were meleeing each other, and like you bought me off a cliff, and then someone else hit me in the face and knocked me backward again. I was just getting ping ponged around. It was great times.
So, let's talk about stratagems.
Yeah. The best thing you can do is experiment. I found myself kind of locked into the same cluster of the same few in the beginning, and then one way or another, I broke the mold and found new things to try. Yeah.
I don't really think that there is such a thing as like a bad stratagem. I think that they're all kind of. Some of them are more like you can use this all the time, and it will help a lot.
No, it won't.
And then there are some that are more situational, like turrets. Like when I see someone throw out a turret and they hit it just right, put it in a really good spot, that is somebody who knows how to use a turret. That is a skill thing, and I have a ton of respect for that. But of course, you can have someone who, places that turret at the wrong spot, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's mowed down the entire team. So of course there are some challenges there with the stratagems, but for the most part, like I think that they all kind of work. Eagle Airstrike is to me like the.
See, that one's too good.
I can bring that one in every single match, and it does the trick. It's a good one. It's just one of those ones you can bring in. I would say that the orbital laser is probably one that you can bring in every single match, and it'll do the trick for you. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, there's a diminishing return with the laser because it kills small things super quickly, and it can blow up objectives too, like the fabricators for the bots or the bug holes for bugs. But one thing it doesn't do very effectively is like kill heavier units. Both factions have like a repertoire of opponents, and the higher up the tree, the tougher and more strategic you have to be in how you kill them. Both have kind of equivalents. The bugs have a big charging beetle monster and these giant slow-moving super bugs called Bile Titans. More coming, I'm sure. Similarly, the bots have like vehicles, like tanks, and these big Hulk things, and like the laser gets hung up on them. Like it'll kill them, but it burns like 80% of its lifespan doing that. So it's best to try to deal some damage to those big guys first. Let the laser finish them. That way, it has time to do the rest of its job. Eagle Airstrike, though, is amazing. There is one stratagem that is just thoroughly worthless. It's the 380 strike.
Well, okay, yeah. That's fair. That might be the only one that I would rather Whenever I hear Chris yell danger close, I know
it's not going to be danger close. It's not going to hit anything, including us. Yeah,
man.
the 380 is just kind of weird. It's too spread out basically. Like if they I don't know, doubled the amount of volleys but similarly doubled the cooldown, it might be more worth it. If it just like erased an entire area, like I could see that being the case. But it just kind of sucks. Everything else has its uses in certain situations.
Yeah, I've been really surprised with how well in rounds that we've played the EMS mortar has really provided some strategies that I did not think that would allow for. Slowing the enemies down is a huge boon for any group, and that one's been really good for us.
I used the mines a lot really early on and killed you guys countless times with those.
It's all good, man. It's all good. It is what it is. You moved away from the mines, which we were all very excited for.
I may go back now that you've said that.
The incendiary mine's really cool, though. I love how that looks.
Yeah, you know what? I never tried. I haven't even tried the electric one yet. The Tesla Tower, which is like the arc version of mines, basically. I haven't even tried that one yet. One favorite of all of ours is the Decapitator 9000, the guard dog.
Yes.
Little drone that flies around. But like the thing is, it faces where you face, kind of regardless of where the target is. Like if you turn 180 degrees, like the laser will make that turn and then find whatever enemy is now in its new line of sight. And the side effect of that is as you turn, you'll carve through your teammates. If you turn to your left, you could potentially carve yourself. I have killed myself many times with the guard dog laser. And then I saw someone in their Reddit/Discord request a flamethrower version, and I'm like, oh,
we have to see that.
Well, please do it.
That has to be a thing.
It's gonna kill everybody.
Doesn't it have to be a thing though? Like
it needs to be.
You have to do that.
They need to.
Okay.
They need to do that. But it's gonna be like the Team Killer 10,000. It's only designed for killing your friends. I really enjoyed the jetpack for a while. I may go back to that. It's just really fun to be able to clamber up on terrain and like rain fire from above on the bugs and stuff. You can recreate the beetle scene from Starship Troopers with the Chargers and jump on their backs and shoot them. It's great. You can do that with any enemy, really. It's like a legitimate strategy. You can jump on the tanks. You can jump on the Battle Titans. Like you don't take like. Yep. The game doesn't have that old school thing where just simply touching the enemy results in damage. Like it does not have that. So you can jump on whatever you want to jump on, and it works.
Right.
The shield is great. That's definitely a popular one because it really helps with anything. I kind of wrote it off for the bugs, but then I realized pretty quickly that it's just as good for the bugs because it absorbs their strikes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until you took, because I just assumed that was there for the bots, right? But it was you who was like, no, it's good for the bugs too. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I put it on with the bugs. Yeah, it was great. It took a few hits. And for the most part, we're pretty squishy. Like, we can't really take a ton. And it's really good to have that shield pack for sure. I'm gonna try a build where I use that and the K-Star cannon. And having that is going to be really, really nice to be a little bit more durable, and you won't be so much glass cannon, just more cannon.
I mean, you're pretty tanky now. The new changes to the armor in general, they made the stuff a little better. People have reported that if you combine like the vitality booster with the heavy armor and that shield, you're pretty tanky. But you're not invincible, and like the point of the game is to die. I mean, it's part of the lore is that these idiots are fighting for freedom and just getting killed in droves doing it. It's like the whole idea, basically. Dying is part of it. Respawning is part of it too, because when you respawn, you fall on a new hell pod, and you can steer that and crush enemies with it. It's great.
Got it. So what is your ideal stratagem build? If you were in a match right now going up against the bots, what is your loadout?
I'd probably be bringing the shield, or at least asking someone to have it, because big tip, the higher difficulty you go, it's definitely more strategic to think of all four of you as one unit, not one player. You shouldn't build for yourself, you should build for everybody.
Right.
It definitely, there's differences when you put thought into it, as Chris and Andrew and I learned. We had like a really bad first match, and then like the second time around, put a little more thought into it and did really well. On hard,
we had a few of those. There was one night where we just like surfed on a sea of blood and like could do no wrong, and yeah, and we put thought into it. We were good and balanced. We communicated well. You can really perform well when you're communicating, when you know, dropping 380s. You know.
But I definitely have enjoyed taking the shield. The Quasar Cannon is really fun. That's a new one. It definitely evens the odds, so to say, because there's definitely like a deficit. Like there are, as they introduce new stuff, like they introduced the Shriekers for the bugs, they've introduced these new gunships, and this new AT-AT Walker for the bots. There's kind of a deficit of like counters to those.
Yeah.
So like when those big bot things came out, like the Quasar Cannon like is one of the things that you kind of take to that fight, but like not having it, you kind of lack a reliable means to fight them. I mean, yeah, you can bring in the anti-vehicle rocket things, but the Quasar Cannon's just more efficient.
Yeah,
I think it's more fun too, honestly. But like that's what they're doing. They're adding new stratagems and they're adding new things to like kind of help even the odds. Like another good example for the bugs is like they augmented how the bugs spawn in, and like one of the potential variants of a bug match you can get into is just like 1,000 of these little ones with wings that spawn and they hop toward you. It just too many, like an infinite number of them. And the check to that is the exosuit, the mech. Like that thing's ability to just mow down small enemies like is the counter to that scenario. So that's what they're kind of doing. Like they're adding these stratagems, they're adding new things. Maybe we'll struggle against them for a week or two, and then like the stratagem comes out that like is the counter to that, so on and so forth. Like it's how it's working. But for the bots, I definitely enjoy having access to a shield. Quasar Cannon's super fun. EMS Mortar is like a must. I love bringing that thing to the fight. Someone's got to bring the laser. Someone's got to bring Eagle Airstrike. Autocannon's still really good too.
I was just about to bring that up. The autocannon was one for me that I went a while without I went a long time without pulling that out because you know, I really liked the recoilless against the bots, taking down the drop ships, but I started to use the autocannon against the bugs. And you can really use the autocannon against both. I think it's probably a little bit better against the bugs, but it really brings a lot of punch to your build. The only thing about it is you really have to commit your backpack slot if you're going to go autocannon, because you just want all those shots, right? You want the ability to reload, and it's just it's quite the commitment. Going with a gun and a backpack when you could go with a shield pack or a drone or things. So
see, we gotta think creatively though. See, there's like a scenario where you don't have to commit. Think about this. Like, what if like one of us has the autocannon and wears like a shield or a guard dog, and then like someone else in the team with a different loadout and stratagems is wearing that reload backpack for you. Like, we haven't even tried that yet. We've been running under this assumption that, like, I got to wear that backpack. You don't, though. Someone else can. We haven't tried it yet. We should. Just to see what would happen on the hardest difficulty, naturally.
Of course.
Like, I'd be curious to see, because, like, we don't know. Which plays into another thing. The game is pretty detailed in terms of how you fight these enemies. Like, it isn't just, like, shoot them a bunch and then they drop dead. It's pretty sophisticated what you can do to the enemies. Case in point, autocannon, the tanks that the bots have. Did you know that you can shoot the tank treads with the autocannon and blow off the treads and the tank can no longer move?
No, I did not know that.
Oh yeah, did you know that instead of shooting the Brood Commander bug in the head, as is the instinctual response, you can just blow its 2 front legs off and make it useless, and it just crawls until it dies?
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's like a lot of these little things you can do to them that's pretty interesting that you have against them. Again, it's like really cool detail. The game is lush with detail and interactivity. Similarly, your own character can take limb damage like Fallout. And like you die pretty quick, so it's unlikely that you'll be dealing with that for an extended period of time. But like a good kind of use case of where it's bad is like you take leg damage, now you're limping, and it's like a slower getaway from the immediate situation to like heal yourself or whatever, or like whatever's going on. Maybe your reload's loading. So like it's cool. Like there's a lot of these little details in the game that are definitely appreciated for being there.
Yeah. Just to finish my point about the stratagems, I would probably bring in airstrike, which I love, the orbital laser, which I really like. A lot of times sense a skirmish not going in a great direction for us. I'll throw that down, and it kind of gives us that added wave of damage that could kind of keep the enemies from getting in too close. And then from there, I'd probably go autocannon and then Gatling turret. That's probably my like go-to for right now. I'm sure that the queso cannon's going to be sure. I just haven't used it enough. But yeah, it's a great mechanic, and it should only get better. And they keep just like dropping in more things. I think that's one of the things about the game that I like the most is the developers really seem to know how to keep us engaged, at least from a stratagem point of view. The mechs coming in, was a huge deal. And I would certainly say that the mech is probably better against the bugs, but great add. Added in a ton of variety.
Bot versions of that thing, like a heavier version that has like auto cans or something. There's gonna be like multiple versions of that. They're like, oh, this one's like the anti-tank one. Oh, look, this is like a vehicle for taking out flying stuff. Like it's gonna.
Give me a mech with 2 flamethrowers.
Yeah, like they're gonna do it because like they've introduced these new gunships from the bots. The bots now have like aerial vehicles, and there isn't a specific counter for that. Like, yeah, you can shoot them with like the anti-rockets or the quasar cannon, but what do you do when 3 of them show up, which does happen? You don't have an answer for that. So you're probably gonna have like a strategy down the road that's like maybe they'll do like an Eagle aerial strike that's like the Eagle engages airborne enemies exclusively. You could use that for the gunships or the Shriekers in the bug world. Like that'll be a thing, because even then we have nothing specific for the Shriekers. I mean, you can put a Gatling turret down, hope for the best. Nothing specific though. There's no like anti-air interceptor turret like specifically.
Right.
So like we're gonna see stuff like that roll out, which is really cool.
Yeah, so let's talk modes. So right now the game only has 4-player co-op mode. What are modes that you want them? What are modes that you want to see them put in the game? I mean, we've talked before a little bit about raids, but how many players do you want in that match? Is 6 not enough? Is 8 too many? Where do you think they're headed as far as game modes go? If you were to ask for what you want, what does that look like as far as new modes?
So firstly, I think that they could really benefit from like a custom game kind of thing. Like if you really enjoyed, say, defense missions or something, like you should be able to play those whenever you want.
That's a cool idea.
I think because
I would love that.
Yeah, you're kind of at the mercy to whatever the RNG gods have for you when you choose a planet. And I've seen hosts like scrub through multiple planets because you're just like, I don't want to do that one, or I want this one specifically, or like whatever. So I think custom game matches make sense. As far as the player count, I mean, like it might be cool to see like a more kind of specific, almost raid type scenario with like 6 players or something. That could make sense because like games that play similarly to this have done that before. A good example is like Monster Hunter World had a couple of raids where you'd go through more specific objectives before fighting the monster. So I could see Helldivers doing that. Like, oh, you got to navigate this series of events and then hold your own here, and then, oh man, it's like this super Bile Titan, shoot it with the special thing. Whatever. That could be a cool thing. PvP comes to mind, but I just don't think it's necessary. Like, I don't think it really needs to be a thing. But I will say what they do desperately need is a shooting range on the ship. You need to be able to test your stuff outside of like a real mission, because like I said, some of those guns, they do be sucking, or they're just really different than what you're used to, and it's kind of difficult to experiment under pressure. A good example is like the Slugger Plasma, or whatever it's called, the Punisher Plasma. Wildly different gun than like anything I've used before. The thing like lobs big balls of plasma like in an arc. Like, it's nothing like any other gun, and like that's really tough to like try to get used to and get good like in a real situation right then and there. Like, it's tough. Right. Chris gave that one a shot and like kept killing himself because he would shoot enemies that are really close to him, and the ball would explode and kill him. So it's he went into that blind.
I'm sure he had nice things to say about that gun 5 minutes into that.
You know, honestly, no. He was pretty logical about it. He was blaming himself for it. Like, he took it well, but he shouldn't have been put in that scenario from the start, because he should have been able to experiment with it on the ship beforehand and come to the realization, I'm going to kill myself with this thing, and I'm not going to bring it this time. Because like, it kind of cripples you. We're on hard mode and like struggling because he's struggling with that, and I think I also screwed something up too. I brought something that was inappropriate for that round as well. So we're both struggling here, and like, his struggle could have been avoided if he was able to test the gun first.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, for me, I actually want to go 8-player raids, and the reason why is because I want the gameplay loop in the raids to be, you start off as 2 teams of 4, and you have to work cooperatively to end it at the same place where you fight a giant boss as your entire group. That could be unlocking a switch that opens a door for Team 2, lets them progress through the match. If they did things like that, I think it would be really fun, and I really don't. It would be hard for us to get a full team of 8, if I'm being honest. I think we could pull that off.
Well, what they need to do is they need to not do what Destiny did, which is restrict it to people that are in like a group already. I didn't play a single Destiny raid between 1 and 2 because I don't have that many friends.
Right.
That's just the cold reality. I had one friend that played Destiny with me kind of regularly, and between the 2 of us, he only had one additional friend that played with him regularly. And I'm not the kind of guy that goes on a forum and like recruits people. That's not me. Like, I never got to do it because of that. You should be able to, if they're gonna do it with randoms. Obviously, at the risk that it's gonna maybe go bad, but you know, you go into that with that risk accepted.
Well, I think if they allowed us to do, if they allowed 6 players to be the minimum for a raid, and you had 2 teams of 3, I think that would be fine too. I just want them to include some sort of new, unique gameplay element that benefits from more players. And I think splitting us up into 2 teams, I think, would be really cool, and it would still kind of lend itself to this cooperative element that the game does so well.
You should, an event that started happening more and more frequently recently was abductions would occur. It's really funny when they were trying to win the current major order. People would put their lobby to open, and people would join their ship, and the objective is currently on a bug planet, and then when 4 people joined in, the host would leave the bug planet and then go to the bot planet where the major objective is and start a mission, and they call it abducting Helldivers. It's terrible, but
hilarious.
It's really funny. Some guy was like, he's like, PSA, you can abduct Helldivers. I've already abducted 24.
Wow.
So funny.
And I think 12-player PvP deathmatch 2 teams of 6 each get 20 revives.
Could be fun. It could honestly be fun. I think it would have its place as just like a goofy little side mode to do.
I agree.
And even you could even inject like an air of like kind of Hunger Games into it, where it's like you're on like a bigger map, and like simultaneous to you fighting each other, the bugs could be unleashed or something. Like there's definitely some fun little prospects to that that could be had for sure.
And how long do you think it's going to be before they have enemy faction planets, where when we drop into a quest, we will see both bugs and bots?
I don't know if they'll ever do that. I mean, that'd be really cool, but I don't know if they'll ever do it.
I think they'll do it because at some point the bots will also be at war with the bugs, and will get caught in the middle. That's what I think that the way that they're going to describe that it is going to be. It's like, hey, now we're all at war, so we're going to fall into planets at times where, the two of them are fighting, and how are we going to... I just wouldn't be shocked if we saw that later down the line at some point.
It'd definitely be cool. I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
Definitely
Absolutely.
Cool. It's a great game. I've really enjoyed it. It needs to stop crashing. They've got they've got a lot of work to do on the stability of it. It did not launch by any means in like a broken state beyond the multiplayer stuff, which has happened to much bigger games. GTA 5 very famously was like unplayable for the first 2 weeks for the same reason that Helldivers was. It happens even when you're the big bad AAA developer. So I'm not gonna make that a pain point because it happens. But definitely some work to go on it. But what we have is super fun and goofy and a good time, and definitely breaks the mold in terms of where gaming has been going recently. And the fact that it's successful is a great use case for a fight against where gaming is going on the large curve. Please don't make a stupid, crazy live service Batman game where you pay $20 for a battle pass to, I don't know, you want more batarangs? You gotta buy the battle pass. Like, please stop.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's good for the industry, and it's good for the direction gaming's headed when you have a game like this do so well. And kind of going back to what you said about how it launched, I think that the community and the industry were less volatile towards the game because it was a $40 game, because it came from a studio that wasn't really well known. I think if this game would have launched and it would have had EA in the title, people would have stopped playing it way sooner, I don't think it would be what it is now. So I think that's kind of to the developers' benefit, that the industry was kind of like, it's a small studio, game's really fun, I'm gonna give it a chance, and it's obviously a huge hit. So
because you can reference another game that came at the same time that had that problem and that effect. Suicide Squad, the stupid, horrible nightmare, had like super bad connection problems on launch. Some ordinary gamers showcased it. He would play the game for like 5 minutes and then it would like kick him out. And like, if it's a live service game that forces you to use the internet, that's kind of a problem. And what do you know, like 2 or 3 weeks after launch, the Steam player count was like sub 800. That game is dead. Like, those numbers, it's not going to survive as a live service game. So that could have happened to Helldivers 2 if it was like a $70 super big release that no one can play. People would just give up on it.
Yep. Anthem is always the one that I go back to.
Ooh. We're going to fix it, guys. We promise. It's coming. It's coming. It's dead.
I bought that game day one, man. I was in that group. The gameplay loop was fun, and it was like, it was okay. I don't know.
That's the problem, though. It was just okay.
HD2 is great, though.
It
Love
is. It's
Game's
really great.
wonderful.
The Anthem, Marvel Avengers, Suicide Squad, and potentially Skull and Bones, but we'll see. It might limp on, who knows? But yeah, Helldivers 2 is definitely like the go-to live service experience right now. Jump in, because democracy demands your service.
It does. It does. I've been shocked by how much of the game we've played. We're still playing it. We're still going to play it for a while. I'm interested to see where the story goes. I hope that they keep it interesting for us. But yeah, super fun game. If you haven't played it, get on down because it is a fun time. Get some
yourself
friends and
cup of liberty.
Exactly.
You should do a Starship Troopers one next.
Yeah, man. I gotta rewatch that film, but I'd be down to do one of these for that for sure.
Awesome. So next time, more space fascism and democracy and so on.
Got it. Love it. This has been great, man.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everyone. The moral of this story is go play Helldivers 2.
Absolutely. It gets a thumbs up from us.
Unless, of course, something horrible happens 6 months from now and the game is not good anymore and we hate it, in which case, shame on you, Helldivers 2. What's wrong with you?
I think 6 months from now, we will be fighting on Super Earth for Super Earth, and I think it's going to be scary.
Possibly, yeah. Oh, no. Wish us good luck for that scenario playing out right now, whatever it is. See, this video is now timeless. See that? It's perfect.
Very nice.
We'll see you on the next one, everybody.
Y'all have a great night.